Cześć! Welcome to today's video. We are going to look at all the teams from the Polish Ekstraklasa and see a little bit more about their history. So, enjoy and learn with me.
Cracovia, founded in 1906, is the oldest Polish club still in existence. They have been a mid-table team in modern history, only managing to win one Polish Cup and one Super Cup trophy.
At least they've won something, but this brings up a big point that I quite often make, is that, now obviously I'm a Southampton fan and we're about to get relegated, which I'm okay with actually, but is it better to be a mid-table team in any division or the top division or whatever and not really achieve anything, just sit in mid-table? Now granted, they've obviously won a couple of things recently, but is it better to do that, or is it better to get relegated and then have the joys of trying to get promotion again, and maybe winning the second division and coming back up, and then the turmoil of going back down and then winning and coming back up? That's, I think, a big actual debate, and I think as Southampton fans at the moment, it's an interesting one to have.
They are a part of the Holy War, a rivalry between Cracovia and Wisła Kraków. The Holy War is considered the most intense rivalry in Poland and one of the most intense in all of Europe. Despite the fact that the two stadiums are less than a kilometer away, the fans of both teams are bitter rivals. Their matches often result in fights between them as well as the police. GKS Katowice were one of the strongest teams in Poland in 1980s and 1990s, winning the Polish Cup 3 times as well as finishing as the runners-up of the Polish League 4 times. Unlucky lads. They were forgotten by most fans after they got relegated to the 4th tier in 2005 after financial problems, but they made their way back and got promoted to the 1st division last season.
Think of the joy of those fans. It's really rough being a football fan. Like, I've seen, once again, Southampton, we were financially ruined, went down 3 divisions, but not 5, and we managed to get back up. Now, this team kind of having those problems, but imagine being a fan and going along with that rise of the club again. That is an awesome feeling, as I can feel for myself with Southampton, and I went through it.
They will also be moving to their new stadium with a capacity of 15,000 fans soon. Górnik Zabrze, hailing from the coal-rich region of Silesia, has achieved 14 league titles, making them one of Poland's most successful clubs.
And how many people outside of Poland know of this club? You might know of Lech Poznań and Legia Warsaw. How many people actually know of Górnik Zabrze? Not many, I very much doubt. And they're one of the most successful.
They had no success this century, but they were a strong team from the 60s to the 80s, reaching the latter stages of the European Cup and the final of the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. Anyway, currently they are now known for the fact that Lukas Podolski plays for them, after he promised that to his grandma, who is Polish. They had some interesting characters and funny players play for them, such as the current Bologna goalkeeper Łukasz Skorupski, or Nakulma, who said in one of the interviews that he would eat a rooster that he got as a Man of the Match award. Yes, you heard that correctly.
Why did he get a rooster for a Man of the Match award? That's the more puzzling thing.
Jagiellonia were the champions of 2024 after winning the title on the last day in a turtle race where every team was just trying to out-choke each other. Jagiellonia were a decent team in the 2000s, coming second in the league twice, but the start to 2020s was tough for them and they were on a decline since then, just barely surviving relegation in 2023. They were one of the favourites to go down in 2024, but this is the Polish league where anything can happen, so obviously they won the league for the first time in their history.
So they literally that season they were expected to get relegated, and instead they went and won the league. What? Like, that is incredible. Like, insane. Like, how do you go from the complete opposites? That is absolutely insane, and such a huge achievement. Then once again, probably a club that people outside of Poland probably don't really know about, but have achieved something incredible. when you've got Lech Poznań and Legia Warsaw who should dominate, and a small team can still, I say a small team, that might be rude, but a team like this can still win, that's awesome.
And big credit has to go to their manager, who's only 33. Currently, they are playing in the Conference League, and their Angolan striker, Pululu, is one of the top scorers of the competition. So
good.
watch out for him. Korona Kielce are just like the cockroaches of the Polish league. They never challenge for anything, but 90% of the time they manage to survive relegation. And even when they go down, they come back straight up. You could say that they are the Crystal Palace of the Polish league. Lech Poznań are most famous for the Poznań celebration, which was copied by Man City after Lech Poznań beat them in the UEFA Cup in 2010. They have 8 titles, and in modern history they have been Legia's closest rivals. They try to play attacking football and also give chance to young players, and produced a good amount of players playing in top 5 leagues and the Polish national team.
Plymouth
Jan
Argyle
Bednarek,
isn't a
who
big
plays
team.
for Southampton,
Bednarek.
Karol Linetti, who plays for Torino, Jakub Kaminski, who plays for Wolfsburg, Jakub Moder, who played for Brighton and now...
I'm not sure if it's a huge achievement to say that you've produced all these players and they don't play for you anymore, because that is like Southampton. It's one of those things, the team we could have had if all of our players didn't leave for bigger and better clubs. I would say, obviously, Lech, been to the stadium, really lovely stadium. It's an interesting one. But what's amazing is they fill it out. What, it's 40-odd thousand, if I remember rightly, and they do fill it pretty much every week. And that's brilliant, because I know a lot of the Polish teams, they don't fill out their stadiums, bar a few.
Plays for Feyenoord, and the most famous one, Robert Lewandowski.
Lewandowski, most people should know Lewandowski.
Next up we have Lechia Gdańsk with their beautiful stadium.
Beautiful.
They must be a really good team to have a stadium like that, right? Well, not really. Lechia were showing promise in mid-2010s by signing a lot of decent Polish players with international experience, and even big names such as ex-Juve player Milos Krasic or Serbian international Filip Mladenovic. However, they only managed to win 1 Polish Cup, and after the transfers in 2020s were not as good, they got relegated in 2023.
So they got relegated. They have this really beautiful, decent-sized stadium. It's designed on the amber of the Baltic, basically. It's a beautiful stadium. Because of the 2012 Euros, a lot of stadiums in Poland were improved and built, but the teams can't fill it with their fans, and then you have to find other uses for it, and it's such a shame. There's so many of these really nice stadiums that are not used. It's mad.
But they managed to quickly bounce back. However, now with new owners, they are struggling financially to pay their players on time. Currently in the relegation zone, it looks like they are heading back down to the 2nd division. Most decorated club in Polish football history, Legia Warsaw boasts 15 league titles and 20 Polish Cup victories. Their fans are renowned for passionate displays, often lighting up the stadiums, sometimes literally. They should be like the Dynamo Zagreb or Red Star Belgrade of the Polish league, especially after they got big money for playing in the Champions League a few years ago. But just like with the 90% of the league, their owners are idiots and they're also greedy, so they don't dominate as much as they should.
This is the thing. I think with say Lech and Legia, they're in a situation where they could dominate the league. It could be the two team system, like Spanish, like Germany, for example. These like Scotland, these two team divisions, but they clearly are not. They clearly are not dominating as much as they can. They're the ones that seem to be getting the European football, and
the most expensive signing made by Legia happened just recently, with Ruben Vinegar coming from Sporting for 2.5 million. Brighton spent 2 times more on random kids from South America. Going back to the fans, they are pretty crazy, and so is the current manager, Portuguese Gonzalo Feio, who at his previous job attacked and injured the director of football with a document tray. Motor Lublin is a newly promoted team who achieved 2 back-to-back promotions and is back in the Polish First Division for the first time since the 90s. The
Nice,
current
well done.
manager of Legia, who I just spoke about, was actually the manager of Motor Lublin before, and that's the club at which he attacked the director of football. The funny thing is that the owner and the fans backed the manager, which resulted in the director leaving the club. To be fair, he did get them promoted back to the second division for the first time in 13 years and was in 5th place in second division, but he eventually left before the end of the season, in which Motor got promoted to the first division. Piast Gliwice, another team who saw a pretty remarkable rise. The team never played in Ekstraklasa and after financial troubles had to be rebuilt from the 7th tier. They achieved 4 promotions in a row from 1997 to 2001. In 2008, they finally got promoted to Ekstraklasa for the first time in their entire history.
It does seem like there is a lot of opportunity in Polish football to rise. You know, these clubs that are down in like the 5th, 7th, 3rd, whatever tier, they still have the ability to get up to the Ekstraklasa, which is what the football is about, isn't it? It's that is what football pyramid is about. You know, you can always get to the top. It's not easy, but there are always those opportunities where in like kind of American sports or even AFL in football in Australia, you can't do that because it's only one tier. There's only one league. There's not a pyramid. So it's always amazing to see the rises of teams from lower divisions. It is really cool to see. And clearly it happens a lot in Poland.
Their results were pretty random in 2010s, one season finishing 12th, a season later 2nd, and then 10th the season after that. They managed to win the Polish League in 2018-2019 season, which was a huge surprise. Sadly, they embarrassed themselves in Europe, losing to the champions of Belarus and then to the champions of Latvia. Since then, they've been a solid mid-table team. Puszcza Niepołomice is probably the smallest team in Ekstraklasa historically.
Never heard of them.
They got promoted to the first division for the first time in 2023 and managed to survive in their first season. Their stadium is so small they cannot even use it and they have to play their games in Kraków. Their highest goal-scoring player in the first season was a centre-back. Pogoń Szczecin's nickname is the Dockers. Due to Szczecin's maritime heritage, you could say Pogoń is like a pirate that's always close to treasure but never quite finds it. They never won a single trophy, despite fighting for the title and reaching the cup final many times.
Always the bride.
You could also say they are like the Polish Spurs, because the way they choked the Polish Cup in 2024 was insane. They were leading in the Polish Cup against a team from the second division with seconds to go, but they conceded a goal in the 99th minute, which took the game to extra time. And in extra time, a mistake from one of their defenders lost them the game. Kamil Grosicki, ex-League One and Premier League player, who is their star player, will be hoping that he can help them win a trophy soon, but after choking like that, there might be a curse on them. Raków Częstochowa went from the 4th division to the champions in 2023 in the space of only 8 years. It's maybe not the biggest fairy tale in the history of football, as they do have rich owners for Polish standards, but they are not exactly breaking the transfer records.
Ain't a lot.
Raków is an unusual team for Polish standards, because they are actually a very well-run team. They have their style of play and they know what players to target. Their manager, who was a PE teacher before joining them, is now regarded as one of the best coaches in Poland and has a style that relies on hard work and a lot of running. He left after they won the championship, but now he's back. They have been doing a decent job in Europe as well and narrowly missed out on Champions League last season.
So can we say they are sort of the Brighton, maybe? The Brighton of the Polish league. Well run, well structured, organised. They're probably never going to be world beaters, but they do enough to keep progressing and achieve things That's nice. That's a good story. Good story.
as they lost 2-1 on aggregate to Copenhagen in the playoff round. Śląsk Wrocław historically are one of the usual members of the Polish league,
Nice stadium,
as they spent 46 years overall in the top division. Just like a lot of other teams, the results have been very random recently, after good years and winning the title for the second time in their history in the early 2010s. In the last 5 years, they finished 4th and 5th, followed by 2 seasons where they just barely survived relegation, just for them to challenge Jagiellonia last season for the title. After finishing 2nd and selling their key player, they are last now. Oh, they do have a nice 45k stadium, but I don't think it will sell out in the second Polish league. Stal Mielec won the league twice in the 70s, but then disappeared in the 90s. Quite literally, as the club stopped existing due to financial problems in the 1990s. They made their way back from the 6th tier of Polish football and got promoted back to Ekstraklasa in 2020. They managed to barely survive the first 2 seasons, and since then established themselves as a mid-table team. When they enjoyed their success in 70s, they had one of the best Polish players of all time playing for them, the World Cup Golden Boot winner Grzegorz Lato.
Okay, I've got to ask this question. Why is it, when you look at players from like the 70s or whenever, they don't have any hair on their head? Whereas they're the same age as footballers now who have this lush hair. He's like, decent. I don't understand. If anyone can explain why footballers of the 70s always have like comb overs, like the Bobby Charlton and all that, and they do not have a lot of hair on their head, and they're not even very old. Times must have been tough. I don't understand.
Who played for them for 14 years. Widzew Łódź is a team synonymous with another Polish legend, Zbigniew Boniek, who notably finished 3rd in the 1982 Ballon d'Or ranking. He helped Widzew win their only 2 titles. This might not be a surprise to you at this point, but Widzew also had financial problems and got demoted to the 5th tier in 2015. Since getting promoted back to the 1st tier, they've established themselves as a solid mid-table team. Widzew also have impressive European results for a Polish team, as in 1983 they reached the European Cup semi-final where they lost to Juventus. And do you know who was playing for Juventus? Their legend Zbigniew Boniek, who left just few months before. They're also one of the 2 Polish teams that reached the group stage of the modern version of the Champions League, alongside Legia. And the last team is Zagłębie Lubin, not to be confused with Motor Lublin. They are from different cities.
Yes.
They
Lubin,
are 2-time
Lublin.
champions, and last time won the league in 2007 when Łukasz Piszczek was playing for them as an attacking player. They gave chance to a lot of young Polish players that ended up having good careers, such as Krzysztof Piątek, Adam Buksa or Bartosz Ślisz. And in the current season, their lineups are mostly made up of Polish players.
Well, interesting. Do you know, I love the stories of how many clubs have risen from the ashes and come up from Division 5 and 7 and 3 and are able to compete. And this is what's wonderful about, as I said, the pyramid system where, you can always progress, you can always do better, you can always go up, you can always go down. And there are some awesome stories. And I think the stories from these smaller clubs that have risen is actually somewhat better than the stories of the Legia and the Lech teams, where they should be dominating but aren't. That's another story in itself. But it seems like teams can win. Some very odd league positions though, like the 115th and then 2nd, and how do you do that differently? And it's crazy. But interesting to find out just a little bit about each of the teams. I hope you found that interesting. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. You might as well. And as always, guys, I will catch you next time.